Welcome to WEHM All Access, the podcast where we bring you in-depth conversations with the people shaping life right here on Eastern Long Island. Now, every episode, we're going to dive into the stories, the music, and the voices that define our community, from local leaders to the musicians you know and love. And throughout the summer, we're catching up with many of the performers taking the stage at the Great South Bay Music Festival, getting the inside scoop on their music, their journey, and what they're bringing to Patchogue this year. Well, on this episode of EHM All Access, we're hanging out with Funkin A, one of Long Island's most beloved funk collectives and longtime Great South Bay Music Festival favorite. They're closing out Sunday night at this year's festival. We dig into their evolution, their wildest gigs, their new record that they're working on, and what they're bringing to the Jambalaya stage this year. It's Funkin A on EHM All Access. It's EHM All Access behind the scenes of the Great South Bay Music Festival as we chat with all the different bands that are performing this year. And coming up, wrapping things up on the Jambalaya stage, Sunday, July 26th, on that Sunday night, is Funkin A. Welcome to Kyle, Dan, Justin, and Rodney. How are you guys?
Good, man. How are you, Harry?
Very good. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. So you guys are always busy. I always see a lot of different shows and different incarnations of the band out and about. I know, Kyle, you're doing a lot of stuff, and Rodney and you guys are really busy. This is fun. How many years have you guys done the Great South Bay Music Festival?
Years doing the Great South Bay Festival. I know way over 10.
Well, you keep getting invited back, which is good.
Yeah, we'll take it, man. You know, Jim is very nice to always ask us, and we're always willing to play. You've
been a fixture kind of the South Shore music scene for a while. What has been the thing that's kind of kept this whole project going and together? Because I know there's been some different members in and out over the years, but what kind of keeps the whole thing going for you?
I think we just have a lot of fun doing it. You know, we like to jam and further our musical explorations and improvisation. You know, we're big on, you know, obviously we play funk stuff, but we like to improv and jam stuff out. We put our own twists on cover songs. We play cover songs now, you know, as well. And we also do a lot of original music, you know. So at this year's festival, we're actually, I think, doing mostly originals, but we got a couple cool covers that we're going to throw in there.
You blend together jazz and funk and a whole bunch of different sounds. How would you describe the identity of someone kind of that's hearing you for the first time when they're walking by the stage?
I think it's changed a lot.
Our identity has changed. It used to be, man, I hate to use this word. It used to be a lot more vanilla sounding, you know, like, you know.
It was more like singer-songwriters.
We were trying to, and then we were trying to go for jam for a while.
Yep. And now it's kind of like a deeper funk, kind of like, we're really all about pocket playing and just like cool transitions, changing the beat up, and you know, we got some melodic lines that we're, you know, doing. How would I describe it to someone that doesn't know us? A funky dance party.
Very nice. Yeah. That's a lot of fun.
You know, going back to your thing about professional, I mean, just, you know, all of us staying together. I think one thing that all of us have is a level of professionalism of just knowing our individual instruments and what our roles are for, you know, a group as large as Funkin A, you know, 8 or 9 piece, depending on.
Yeah, we've even been 10 pieces 2 years ago. We had a percussionist, our buddy Dan, and then we have Annie, who sings with us occasionally. She's still in the band, but she's got a lot going on too, and that's just also part of it. A lot of us have a million things going on, and you know, we are good at just not, you know, just knowing how to just push just enough so that it stays together. What
do you look for when you're bringing in new members and kind of moving people in and out? Because it sounds like, you know, people are busy with other stuff. You got to find different people at different shows, different gigs. What's that like to kind of put together? How does that work with such a collaborative effort?
I mean, I'm always looking for, you know, obviously a great sound, like Justin said, knowing their instrument, and you got to be cool too. Like, we vibe with cool people. That's a big thing, really, is just, you know, being cool and nice and wanting to play. And you know, it's crazy being a musician these days, especially, and you got to just roll with the punches, and that's half of Funkin A right there, is rolling with the punches on stage, whatever happens.
Yeah.
Sure. Let me tell you real fast about a crazy gig that we did last year. It was actually we got it through Jim. It was great. It was a great experience. But we played on a ferry in a hurricane.
Oh my!
And people came to see us, and we called up. We're like, hey, are we are we still playing this thing? There's like, I think a category something hurricane. And he's like, look, people bought tickets and they came and we played the whole band. People were dancing, you know, one lady's losing her lunch and we kept on playing we played the funk for people. And, that was we looked back at that gig and we're like, okay, we might not do that again, but that was also something that really you know, it was a good experience at the end of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you remember those gigs.
Yes, definitely a memorable one.
That's for sure. Yeah, you do both. You mentioned originals and covers. How do you balance that during the live shows?
Well, it depends on the live show. If we have to fill a 4-hour gig, obviously you're going to get a bunch of covers. But, you know, for Great South Bay, we're going to try and hit them with as many originals. Also, we try to hit a couple covers because people are just seeing us for the first time. And we're a funk band. And we try to hit those funk standards, you know, maybe something from Tower of Power or something from Stevie Wonder or James Brown. You know, we like to hit those just so people know that we're also, you know, we're into the authentic funk. I also like to, you know, play that stuff because it's just what I love listening to as well, you know. And
well, I was curious, where did you guys listen to growing up? What what brought you to this type of band and the funk sound? If you're gonna go through each of you guys, I'm curious.
I mean, as a trumpet player, you know, when I was in like high school, I was playing in a ska band, and then, but my band teacher is in the band Funk Philharmonic. Oh, wow. And we would go to like the Crazy Donkey and see them play, and they were playing like all the Tower of Power stuff, and that was like, oh my God, like that is what I
saw his teacher before I knew him actually at the Funksgiving show they did at the Crazy Donkey. Yeah, and they still do that.
We probably were there at the same time.
And we might have really, but we were not playing music together.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I feel like, you know, I grew up as, you know, a classic rock type of person, just my parents, and then that branched off to just whatever genres in the 90s. You know, I'm 40, you know, if you can date me for music. And then, you know, later in high school, it was classical music and it was jazz. And then, you know, I went to music school. You know, I'm a music teacher myself. And I feel like coming back, you know, I went to grad school and coming back in the summers and playing at O'Reilly's in Oakdale at some of the jam sessions.
I think that's where we met each other. Yeah.
That's where Funkin A started.
You know, it's right around the corner from where I grew up, so I used to go there and jam, and that's kind of how I got my foot with Funkin A. But also, really, the whole musical genres that Funkin A covers is all, you know, kind of Funkin A, you know, introduced to me.
Yeah.
And, you know, then branching off from there and finding the other groups that, you know, influenced Funkin A. So it really just like a musical journey for me, this group, you know, in my adult life.
Look, let it be known that we're very versatile as a band. We can play all sorts of stuff. We've played weddings. We played lots of weddings, actually. And we play funk, but we also sometimes will funkifize a Grateful Dead song or like, you know, like something. We try to do that twist and people are like, wow, that's cool. You know, so anyway, you know, like we come from all different walks of musical, you know, lives, if you will, you know.
And Rodney, I'm curious.
Me, I grew up listening to like jazz records. My father had like jazz records and blues records. I'm from out there too. I'm from Bridgehampton, so
oh, nice.
I started playing with the folk bands out there, the folk musicians. So I ran the gamut. Then I came up here and I met these guys. So you know, I was always listening to everything on the radio, trying to play everything on the kit. So
I met Rodney. He came to my open mic, which was a long-running open mic for over 10 years, I think, or something like that, at the Brick House Brewery in Patchogue. And I did every Wednesday night. And then Rodney showed up, and we didn't know each other. And he's like, "I'll bring a drum set." I'm like, "I haven't been doing drums yet, but okay, you know." Didn't know each other. And I'm like, "I'm gonna play a couple original songs, man. Just follow, you know." And it had some parts to it, but the guy didn't miss a beat. And he played the song before, and I swear it was like I was like, okay. And we've been playing music ever since then. That's probably 20 years ago. I don't even know. I mean, no, wait, not 20. 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, a long time.
You do you mentioned a lot of different types of environments you've played in. Festivals, breweries, you mentioned about ferry, different private events.
Yeah.
How do you adapt for different environments? Yeah, obviously you must have a plan kind of going in for each show.
I mean, there's definitely a couple beers involved, but no, in all seriousness, I guess you kind of just, I mean, the reality is like you can paint the picture in your head, but you really don't, like most things are just like, normal gigs, but there's plenty of them out there. You just have to adapt, and, that's always the way it is. I mean, being in a band, like, especially when you're doing different gigs, you have to be able to read a room. It's very important that you're seeing how people are reacting to the music you're playing, but like something like with Great South Bay Festival, we're going there to put our identity out there, and that's really what So it depends. It really depends on the type of gig. Are we being asked to do something for the person that's like hiring us? Or are we doing our own thing? That's, really where it comes down to.
I know you guys are working on a new record and some new music. Tell me a little about.
It's been a while.
How does it work? Because there's so many different people involved. So it's a large group. How does that work collaboratively with the writing process and kind of introducing new music to the group?
Well, it's like that thing that is, what is that? You spend most of your time waiting. No, I'm just kidding. But no, mostly we're waiting for everyone to be all together. And it's really hard because there's so many guys and we all are so busy. Like I said, our buddy Johnny, who's not going to be joining us at the festival, unfortunately, because he's just wrapping up a tour. But when he's around, we can record stuff. And but really, we kind of all just get on the same page when it's time to. And, it's but we have like, half of the tracks recorded right now. We have to get the other half down. But it's been a work in progress, and it's not easy, actually. It's really difficult.
Where does it kind of start with you, Kyle, or how does it work with literally the birth of a song?
Yeah, I mean, I Justin's written a song, and I'm sure you can write another 3 or 4 if we try. But I sometimes just come up with these ideas, and I got my degree in music, and of course, some of the horn players will have to correct when I write it out for them. But I try it that way, and then I write lyrics and stuff, and it generally comes from an idea within, or a feel or a groove,
What was it like during COVID? For a lot of bands, I'm always curious because I know it was a very tough time where touring stopped. You couldn't do gigs and make money that way. What was it like for this band in particular?
Well, I don't think we played. I mean, me personally, I was able to do these live from my upstairs attic or whatever I had. And I was doing shows, actually. I was like, putting out the donation thing, and it was actually really helping. And I would do it once a week, and I would try to come up with different themes. But as far as the band, we basically, a lot of people went separate ways, and we all had to hunker down. So it was actually quite difficult, but different experience, I'm sure, for everybody, if anyone wants to chime in.
Yeah, I mean, COVID for me was just kind of locked in the room, just tinkering with. I think for a lot of people in COVID, it was like getting focus rights and doing some recording and learning how to.
Well, you were doing a couple things with another band that but
yeah, I used to play with another band on the islands, and we were doing like some of those like tile videos where things like that. Or
I've always wanted to do that. I always wanted to do one of those with Funkin A. Like we could do it.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
That video editing is no.
It's easier to just get us in one room and then
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, that's really interesting. Music wise, I know you guys are always working on stuff. When are you thinking about the record? As far as getting it out
there? Well, our goal was at the end of this year, and we're still trying to hold to that, but maybe, at the beginning of next year. It depends, actually. Things can happen quite quickly with us once we, the summertime, unfortunately, is just so busy. I mean, I've been playing shows, like you said before, I'm in a million different bands, and I play solo a lot. It's just, even we're lucky enough to get together and rehearse. We have a million things going on and we're rehearsing, but it's like, it's even tough. It's just we're so busy. Being a musician on Long Island is very difficult, and it only gets more difficult. So we end up having to take the gigs as opposed to like I work all day and I play all night, and it's basically what it is. So where we are trying, and in terms of the record, we are trying, things should start to chill out, and we'll pick it back up in hopefully September. Even though I'm about to have a child.
All right, so trying for September, but we'll see. Maybe 27. We'll get something.
Actually, the progress so far has been very positive. really been good. It sounds good.
Is it a full album or EP or just?
It'll be a full album.
Wow.
It'll be a full album. I think we might even just toy with the idea of trying to release a couple songs first to give you a taste, and then the goal would be hopefully at a good time to do an album release show when the whole thing is ready, and maybe we can get EHM involved. That would be great.
That'd be terrific. How does it work as far as, because you mentioned there's so many different projects. How do you know it's for this specific project for Funkin A?
That's a great question. I hear it. I mean, like, I was showing you guys that one tune that I wrote recently. I really want to do with Funkin A, and we only worked on it, I think, once, and everyone really liked it, but we're going to come up with some cool horn parts to it. That's a great question, Harry. It's just, we have a sound, and this is maybe one of the most badass bands I've ever, probably the badass bands that, like, when we really want to do something, I feel like we could do it well, and we got to, and what's funny is, like, we constantly kind of come up with different variations of even our own original. We have new ideas. Hey, let's do this there. All of a sudden, and then it becomes a thing that you'd only experience if you come see us live.
That makes a lot of sense. You have such a unique sound too, with the horns and everything. How do you? How do you arrange that? Because you have so many different players. How do you make sure that you get everyone involved?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me give it off to the horn players, but I'll just say, like, they have it's a lot of arranging. It really is. And then like these guys are geniuses when it comes to making the right parts sound right, flipping thing. It's a lot of work actually arranging music. It really is. I'll give it to one of you guys.
Yeah, especially like, from gig to gig, we have basically 4 horns that are the main cast. And that's interchangeable with other people too that we've had on the band with us. And like, we have to make sure that the music looks good enough on paper so anyone can just come in and play with us. But then it's also like, okay, well, now we don't have a tenor player for this gig. We only have 3. How do we shift what songs we're going to play? Like, or, how do we rearrange like sections of songs? And a lot of time that just happens on the fly, and just we communicate with each other a lot.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, for myself, because my role in the group is mostly like alto and bari sax. Yeah. So one's like a higher, maybe second voice of a horn section, after the trumpet, and then the bari is the lowest. So sometimes we're playing, with a 4 or 5 piece horn section, but some of our gigs might be 3, and sometimes we've played with 2 horns. So I've learned just kind of through hearing the harmonies of how to adapt and figure out, all right, which voice should I play? Like in a 4-piece section, I'm going to play the bari part. But if we're playing with three parts, I might leave the bari at home and just, stick to alto. And if we don't have a tenor player, like, I'll cover the tenor harmonies, just to make things, sound more cohesive in the horn section, and, figure out what should be heard, for the whole, aesthetic of the piece.
It's interesting because you do have, I think at one time you said you had 10 members, and trying to get everyone to row in the right thing, the same direction, has to be really interesting. How often do you guys get together to kind of feel things out? Because I'd imagine with so many different projects, you're busy. It's hard to come together just to, not to practice per se, but to just be a band and be Funkin A.
Yeah, well, we kind of, it's just the nature of a musician. It's a rotating door of rehearsals, and then like when the gig comes up, then it's Funkin A's chance to. And the guys in the band are the same way. This guy plays in a couple wedding bands. This guy plays in a couple wedding bands, and not necessarily they rehearse, but they're busy doing it. You know what I mean? So, how often? As often as we try, as we can.
When you have a gig coming up,
Sometimes if we're lucky, it's twice a month.
Nice, wow. Where I noticed you're in a studio setting right now. Tell me about this project that you're involved with in Patchogue.
Oh, well, this is my music school, the Rock Underground of Patchogue. We've been here for 6 years now. We're going through some changes in a few months. We're going to be relocating to the basement of the, we're actually rebuilding the whole place just like it is upstairs to the basement. It's actually going to be a really cool spot. But I have been, we've been putting kids on stage for the past 6 years over here in Patchogue. Yeah, it's a cool community that we've built up. We got some amazing kids that play here. And I'm just trying to give back to, I'll be honest, when I became a musician, if you will, I wanted to play Patchogue. Now I live in Patchogue, and it's just a cool area. Really, it's a hip spot,
It's grown so much over the years. So where are all you guys from? I know Kyle Patchogue, but are you guys from the same area? Out of Bridgehampton, you mentioned, Rodney.
Yeah, I grew up in East Islip, so.
Yeah.
I'm in Oakdale.
And Rodney's out in Bridgehampton. You guys are obviously doing a lot of different things. Great South Bay Music Festival, though. Funkin A gets together. That's Sunday night, the 26th, and the Jambalaya stage. Tickets at greatsouthbaymusicfestival.com. And where can people learn about the school, too, Kyle?
You could just check us out, on our socials, just TRU Patchogue. That stands for the Rock Underground. You can also go to our website, therockunderground.com. I think it's actually rockundergroundmusic.com. I should know that, but I just mostly just go on the social medias and just post stuff there.
No, that's
you can just
great.
find us on Instagram.
No, it's great because I love the fact that you are so passionate about the Patchogue music scene. I've watched it grow up, live in the Lobby series they used to do there, and I know they still fiddle around and do different things, but watching the whole town come alive, not just with music, but I think that's a big part of it with all the different restaurants and all the different new things that have happened. So I'd imagine, did you grow up here in Patchogue, Kyle? Or like right around?
I grew up in Sayville, and I've been living in Patchogue the last 12 years.
No, you've seen a lot of things change, and it's for the better a lot of the times with the music scene. So thank you for everything you've done, and thank you guys for sitting down. I really appreciate it and taking the time. Looking forward to seeing you on the stage at the Great South Bay Music Festival. GreatSouthBayMusicFestival.com. Funkin A. Thank you so much, guys.
Harry, you're the man. Thanks buddy.
Thank you.